So anyways, but it's all good. We're here. And it's week 3 in the Clean Kitchen Challenge. So the first 2 weeks, you're kind of getting in the groove. We're, learning what habits are and stuff. Well, this week starts really some of those meal prepping strategies or thinking about meal prepping in a systematic way. No doubt you've probably already been doing some of this because, naturally when you have to start eating a little bit better and eating the habits, you have to plan for it. So we're going to get a little bit more into it, but we started out, the week with a little bit of a change in some of the habits, the plant habit for level 1 and level 2, and I believe the sleep habit changed a little bit. I think you were supposed to go to bed 10 minutes even earlier, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, getting back to what we're going to talk about, meal prepping strategies. It's not necessarily that you have to have like this immaculate, meal plan or anything like that. Now, you've been practicing writing out that 3-day meal plan. And so that's the start of, making the plan for the week, but then more importantly, like your grocery list. And a lot of times people fall into the trap of trying to think about doing things too elaborate and buying too much food. I believe you got a lesson this week already. It was called the no waste food rule. And that's if you buy it, like if you buy it in the grocery store, you better have a plan for it. So that's why the 3-day meal plan, writing it out beforehand is so important, is so you know where those meals are going to go before you go to the grocery store, so you don't overbuy and waste a bunch of food. So, because nothing's worse than buying too much food or either not having a plan for the food. Like say you went and got really excited about the protein prep assignment and you bought like 10 pounds of chicken, but you really don't know what you're going to do with it. So that's why the writing it out first is so super important. When it comes to, though, making that meal plan, of course you're going to think about other factors pertaining to your family. So, some people have a ton of family members that they got to feed, and then there's some people that are only cooking for one. And a lot of the CK recipes, you can either half them if you're just cooking it for yourself, or if you don't mind eating those leftovers for multiple meals throughout the days, then of course that's even simpler. But you can also freeze those things. All the recipes I've ever made, I have probably frozen or tried to freeze them all. I haven't ran into really any one that doesn't freeze well. Let me think. The only thing that hasn't frozen well for me is the Mexican lasagna, and I think it's because of the tortillas. But anyways, that really never never lasts that long anyways to be frozen anyways in my house, because that's a family favorite. But anything else, especially when it comes to the proteins, like, meatloaf muffins, anything like that. I've even frozen crock pot chicken that I've already made, like in the crock pot. I just will cook speaking of buying 10 pounds of chicken, if you cook that much chicken, go ahead and freeze some of it and, divvy it up into like pound increments in Ziploc bags and stuff like that. But that's just something to start thinking about, is like not overbuying, but always having the plan. Another thing that I do whenever I'm meal planning or prepping, like if I plan on doing a big day prep, now I'm not one that normally does like a whole week prep. Some people do, and that works well for them. Some people will cook a ton on a Sunday or something like that, that'll last them for the whole week. Maybe they'll cook a ton on Sunday, freeze half of it so they can use half of it later again, whenever maybe they think they're going to get tired of that meal. So that's something to think about. You could freeze half of your stuff for later use. But for me, I usually work in like 3-day increments. I know that I'm always going to have some kind of what I call habitual meals in my planning process. And what I mean by habitual meals is just like, it's almost like they're always going to be my backup, and they're always going to happen every single week. So for example, my breakfast, I have eaten the same breakfast for a couple of years now. It's my squash and spinach omelet, Parmesan cheese. I chop up asparagus and I saute it in J. Olive espresso balsamic. Sometimes I put some rice with it. Sometimes I put some sweet potato with it. But if I'm out of those ingredients, I'm definitely going to the store, because that has become a habitual meal for me, and it is something that is super fast for me to eat. And I can eat it any time of the day. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've used that same meal for for a dinner meal whenever I didn't have anything ready to cook, or couldn't go to the grocery store or something like that. So that's something that I always have, like, and you can think about that too. And it doesn't have to be that elaborate. It could be something as simple as, like, my habitual meal is my protein shake and an apple, something like that. It doesn't have to be, something cooked. But I'm just saying, it needs to be something that you don't mind eating every single day. And so with that, that's one meal that's already taken care of, and I don't have to think about it forever if I don't want to. The next thing I think about is, I usually always have some kind of bowl meal a day, and that's usually my lunch. So what I'll do is, I'll always have some kind of protein prepped in the fridge. So it could be like, I'll take the 2 pounds of ground turkey meat that you can get from Sam's, and I'll cook that whole batch. I just won't season it with anything. It's just ready to put into stuff. So I could use it for taco night. I could use it for spaghetti night. I could use it for Kung Pao turkey. The Euro turkey salad in the recipe book, in the TK cookbook, is a good one. There's a lot of ground meat recipes that you can use, but where's your time not wasted cooking all that meat? So you can just, think of it on the fly. But of course, always have that backup plan. So I like to bulk prep already to have it ready to go if I want to make something fresher. So I ground that turkey meat up, or cook that ground turkey meat up, and keep it in the fridge. And I'll even add it to salads if I want to, anything like that. So that's just another easy protein add-in or step in the planning process, or prepping process that I'll do. Another great thing to think about is I also like to have some kind of casserole or baked dish type of meal. And Keller is the casserole queen, so the CK cookbook is chock full in the baking section of the oven bake section of a bunch of casseroles. Now, if you're anything like me, I don't particularly love eating, reheated chicken, like pieces of chicken or pieces of meat. I don't necessarily mind the ground turkey or ground chicken or something like that as much, because, again, I'm adding that to something like a casserole, a soup, or whatever. But for me, I don't necessarily go towards reheating chicken or something like that. If I'm gonna reheat chicken, it's gonna be repurposed into, say, a casserole or something like that. So that's why I love a casserole of sorts. So some good ones, like, if you haven't tried the sweet potato lasagna, that was like one of the first ones that Keller made, I believe. But it was a knock it out of the park home run type of thing. And if it sounds weird to you, I promise it's not. Go ahead and try it. It's even better the next day left over. So that's one that I've even frozen, like made the whole batch. So maybe your whole, not your whole family wants to eat it. I'll cut it up into single servings and saran wrap it and stick it in the fridge. Stick it in the freezer. Another one that I love is the CK chicken spaghetti. Now, there's a couple of different variations of that recipe that we've had. I've posted my variation on the Instagram, and I may be making it again this week, but that's another one that it's a no-brainer, because all those type of one-pot wonder meals, like a chicken spaghetti, it adds your habits all in one, and you don't have to worry about it. And it reheats good. It'll even freeze good, and you know, you can always have it at, like, pull it out of the fridge really fast. One thing that you do need to think about whenever you're doing your planning is, what is your problematic meal of the day? A lot of people struggle with this because they think that they're trying to fit their meal plan into this perfect, I don't know, expectations of what everybody else is doing, like how you should eat during the day. It really doesn't matter what time you eat during the day, as long as you're not getting to that point of starving hungry. So some of you are like, I hate breakfast, or I can't eat breakfast. That's fine. That doesn't have to be a big meal. But eventually your body is, after eating this way for a little while, it's going to get hungrier. And so your hunger cues are going to change, and you're probably going to start adding in meals as you go and as you get hungrier. So if you're not a breakfast person, it's totally fine. And that may be your problematic meal to get going. Eventually you'll get hungry for it, hopefully. And then your plan will change. But it can be something as simple as like a handful of nuts and a handful of grapes. It could be something like that. But a lot of people's problematic meal tends to be that mid-afternoon time, about 2-3 o'clock. So it's after lunch, that in between dinner, you're hungry. That's a long time span. So a lot of people won't even think about eating in that mid-afternoon. But then all of a sudden by dinner time, they're like ravenously starving. We don't want to reach that point of ravenously starving. So even though a mid-afternoon feels like it should be a snack, if you're hungry for it, eat a full meal. 5-habit cheat sheet. Represent all the questions in that meal, and then a couple hours later, you'll be eating again. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you're having trouble with that, that time of the day where you're starting to like crave things, like most people are like, oh, I need a coffee break and a sweet bite. Well, if you know that about yourself, and you know that time of day is like where you're kind of winding down, getting tired of functioning, then you need to have something that is replacing, whatever old habit that you had that comforted you, with a new habit that can comfort you. And that new habit can be a fuller meal. Like a lot of my meals just look like meals. I mean, they're not snacks, so I may eat 4 or 5 times a day. Not saying that you need to do that right now if you're not hungry for it. But as your body changes and your metabolism starts revving up and you start burning energy more efficiently, you're probably going to get more hungry. And so don't be afraid to make that, that mid-afternoon just a meal. And again, like what I was talking about, casseroles and stuff, maybe you're a person that travels a lot for, work or whatever. Casseroles, easy one plate meals type of thing like that are usually taste pretty good cold, but then you can go to the gas station and heat them up in their microwave. I've done that plenty of times. But anyway, so this week is all about the meal prepping strategies and stuff like that. We did have a good lesson that that was on Tuesday. It's called Are You Drinking Your Calories? And so if you are still not sure why we are harping on all the water that you need to be drinking, go take a look at that lesson on Tuesday, and you will get an eyeful of what it means, of why drinking water over calorie beverages is going to help your progress even more. But other than that, we've got a few videos that are coming up. I know we've got on Friday, there's a protein meal prep video for you to watch. So, and then also on Friday, there's going to be the lesson, meal prep planning for the weekend. Now, the weekends, it's like almost like Fridays or Thursdays. People are like, it doesn't matter. These next 3 days don't matter. Well, technically, the weekend is almost half of your week. So it's really important for you to think about, okay, so if I meal prepped on Sunday or Monday, maybe even did a little bit of a meal prep on Wednesday, which is kind of what I'll do. I have to make a little bit more food to get through either, Thursday, Friday. I'll think to myself, I need to cook something on Friday as well, if you haven't cooked through the middle of the week. Because if I cook something on Friday, like a casserole, like my go-to right now is the chicken spaghetti, I'll cook, or like chicken salad or something like that, I'll cook that on Friday, and those are like, it covers me for some of my more problematic meals through the weekends, because your weekend is kind of not your regular routine. You're maybe at the house being a little bit more bored and probably, more prone to snacking. Because if you don't have food already ready, then you're probably going to have to use a little bit more willpower to say no to, say, pizza or something like that. But if you already have it made, then your decision is already made for you. So that's a little tip for getting through the weekend. Other than that, if you have any questions about, creating your own meal plan, making grocery list, or anything like that, reach out to your coach. Ask them to look at your 3-day meal plan so they can give you some advice before you go to the grocery store. I know I tend to check my clients' 3-day meal plan just to give a little, it doesn't have to be detailed, but just to give a little here and there, idea of what they might want to add to their list before they even go to the grocery store, stuff like that. So I hope everybody's doing well practicing their habits. Next week, week 4, can't believe that it is week 4. I think we are doing, it might be limiting factors, or planning for the unexpected. I think that's what it is. Planning for the unexpected. So we always have a plan A, but then plan B and C is really important too. All right, so I'll see y'all next week for week 4 chat. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Bye-bye.